Hello and welcome to Great American Underdog, where you can hear stories from real people who have been the underdogs in their own lives and have found strength and success in spite of the obstacles that they have faced. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and if you've received a tremendous amount of value, please be sure to share this episode with someone you feel could benefit from it. Today, I have a very special guest with me who I've been grateful to connect with over the last year through Scott Joseph and the Me Plus Ultra Network. She is an incredible mom, wife, podcaster, and business coach who helps entrepreneurs create engagement strategies and prioritize revenue over audience growth. It is my honor to welcome Ina Coveney. Ina, how are you today?
Hi, Ron. That was such a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and everything we're going to be talking about. Really, so happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you're a spitfire of energy, like myself. So I have to be very cautious about not getting too excited and laughing out loud because I definitely want to make sure that people take away the importance of your story and don't hear my silly voice in the background.
Yeah, imagine like if we both got into our groove, this is going to be a really fiery interview.
Oh yeah, just
Like,
bounce back and forth. So
I'm here
I
for it.
totally understand that. So just to get started, Ina, I start all of my podcast episodes like this. I would like to know, what is your favorite underdog story, whether it's fiction or nonfiction?
Okay, I'm going to tell you about there is this movie that I don't think it even made it to the theaters. But it's a movie with Gwyneth Paltrow and like a star-studded cast, like Mark Ruffalo and all of these people. And I really feel like it went straight to tape. But this is a movie that I used to watch when I was 24 years old. I would turn it on at like 6 in the morning and I would make my breakfast just watching it. And it's the story of Gwyneth Paltrow, who's like a little girl from uh, Silver Springs, Nevada, who's never going to amount to anything. And then she discovers this flight attendant who is going around the world, and she wrote a book about her life in the air, and she just gets this dream of like, I need to be a flight attendant. And I am, spoiler alert, by the way, the movie's called View from the Top. And spoiler alert, it is a very old movie, so if you want to skip 30 seconds, I won't spoil the ending for you. But she goes from being a flight attendant to being majorly screwed over in her journey to finally making it to the international routes and then discovering that, she had fallen in love. She actually wanted to be with this person and she couldn't be traveling all around the world. And at the end, she figures out more ways to spread her wings, like realizing she didn't have to choose one or the other. And she ends up becoming an airline pilot. And I'm gonna cry just thinking about that story because I loved the fact that all she was doing is just, I'm gonna follow that dream, but kind of pivoting along the way, right? Kind of going like, what else can I be doing? I am smart enough. I can literally do anything. There was nothing keeping her in a box. And I loved watching that story every single morning because you just give me fuel to like, okay, all I have to do is focus on the next right step. What is it that I really want to do next? And feel free to pivot and change and grow in any way that I want. So the movie's View from the Top, Gwyneth Paltrow. Look it up. It's on Vudu. It's totally worth it. It's one of those like silly movies with lots of color. It has Mike Myers in it, so it's super funny. But the message just it's like stays with you.
Well, it's so funny. So first of all, shout out to Sandy Sarami, hashtag WTSD, write that shit down. I write everything down that is worth remembering. And I'm definitely going to check that out because first of all, age of the movie doesn't really matter. It's the messaging, right? And then,
Yeah.
like you said, this is something that you put on every day. And, the spread the wings message you just mentioned to me is such a big takeaway from that because again, you don't know when you may have to pivot in your life, make a change, and knowing perceptually and in your mindset that you are not stuck ever
Yes.
is a big takeaway as an underdog if you're looking to overcome obstacles, right? You
Yeah.
can't be putting yourself in a thought box that's linear and having blinders on like a racehorse essentially. So it's such a great point.
It's all about knowing that you do have control. So many of us get stuck in feeling like, well, look at my circumstances, right? It's almost as if somebody was coming to us and making us defend why we haven't gone farther and why we're still stuck where we are. So, like, if we have to defend anything, we're going to dig our heels. We're going to explain, well, don't you realize that I have kids and they take up my time? Don't you realize that I grew up, in this area of town where I had not the same opportunities as other people in different area of town? Don't you realize we tend to dig our heels in explaining why we are here? And that's okay if you need a little bit of like validation, a little bit like love to yourself. Like it's okay to realize that you do have obstacles that are physical that are there that have nothing to do with you. It's about having the mindset of control. It's realizing what can I do if these are my constraints? What can I do to either completely ignore them and just keep going through anyway, or finding different ways to grow? Most recently, this is something I've been talking to you about this. I've had a podcast forever. I mean, my current podcast is my fourth podcast to date. You could question that is the fifth one because I actually rebranded the latest one. But I've been podcasting for over 12 years. And this year, it occurred to me that I am feeling called to doing interviews in person. This is huge. This is something I've never done before. It's something I have no idea how to do. I do not have an executive assistant to go and book my flights and to
Right.
find the studios, right? Like I had to go and do this myself. And I went ahead and I said, okay, I'm going to start with this city. And if I'm going to go to the city, I'm going to shoot big. I am going to invite people who are way out of my league, and I'm just going to see what happens. And I am very, very happy to announce that two, that two for two, no, three for three of the big shots that I asked to come on these interviews for a podcast that doesn't exist yet because it's a brand new experience, decided to say yes to me. And I'm here yesterday juggling the calendars of these big wigs. And I'm like, how is this my life? Who gave me permission to do this? Who said that it was okay for me to go and do that? That's the kind of opportunity, like being across, like in the same room with these people, are opportunities that are only afforded by those who, applied and crossed their fingers and waited to be accepted. And it blew my mind that this is an opportunity that I made up. I created that stage. I made the invitations and it ended up working in my favor. And it's when you realize, like, why are we waiting around for people to hand us anything? We have the full control to create those experiences ourselves. And it will be scary. No idea how to find a podcast studio, right? I started contacting people that I know. And one of them was like, we own a studio, right? I'm like, you do? Well, then let's do it. And they let me borrow it for the full day. I mean, I am traveling for this. A friend of mine, who is a
Incredible.
dear, dear friend of mine, she wanted to come on the trip with me, but she really couldn't make it work. And I ended up being like, I'm paying for your flight and you are going to be there because if you don't come, I'm going to
Oh,
have to pay somebody else to help me. And it's better if you come. So now she's coming. And this is a whole thing. Control, just bringing it back to what you said. It's like,
well,
you have more control than you think.
yeah, and I want to unpack a lot of what you just said too, Ina, because there's so many valuable nuggets for the audience and for people that are going to listen to this episode in general. So number one is your fifth podcast. Let's say, who cares? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you've been doing it for 12 years and you never gave up, right? It's
Right.
like the old story of Earl Nightingale talks about this, where a farmer. I don't know if you know who Earl Nightingale is. He's an older school motivational speaker,
Yeah.
et cetera. But he talks about, diamonds being in your soil and most people thinking that they have to go and buy a different property essentially. And I'm butchering the story a little bit, I'm sure, but having to go somewhere else to find diamonds when really all you had to do was cultivate the land you were already on and the
Right.
diamonds were already under your feet.
Right.
And sometimes you're also 3 feet from those quote unquote diamonds, right? If you had quit in year 7 and decided, you know what? I'm not getting traction. You're one. You would have never had the lessons that you learned from those 12 years of podcasting. You wouldn't have had the power of the relationships you do. You know why those people said yes to you so easy? It's because they already know you, like you, trust you, and you have done a lot of work. And this is something that you teach is how to build engagement with people, right?
Right.
How to harness that the power of the relationships that you have with people that are interacting with you and how to be genuinely interested in others, right? And in terms of your podcast and going on the road, I am not surprised just because of the person you are, and also because of what I just mentioned with the power of relationships that you've gotten the yeses you've gotten. And not bigger lesson, but the additional lesson to that is you made it easy for them to say yes. So a lot of times in business, when people are trying to cultivate a cold lead, what do? And you know this, they go on LinkedIn or they go on social media and they pitch people in their direct message. And as a regular human being, and I know you don't like it, nobody likes it. But just
Yeah.
imagine for a second if you said, "Hey, I'm going to be in your town. I'd love to take you out to lunch sometime and hear more about your story and get your feedback." How different is that in comparison to that cold outreach, right? So now you just made it so easy for them to say yes because you decided, "Hey, I'm coming to your town." I They don't know that you don't know what's gonna happen when you get there, like, I'm gonna figure it out as I go, but I'm gonna get it done, and we're gonna shoot an awesome episode, and they're about it. So, staying with the process, making yes easy, and the power of relationships. It's
And
incredible.
I love it that you brought it back to like the power of relationships. And I love that diamond story because it's literally the exact parallel to what I talk about all the time, which is you can build a great business and make a great life even if you have a small audience, right? Like I've never had a big audience before, and people are always looking for more followers, more followers, more followers. And to me, like that's the diamonds, right? Like I just need to keep buying property because to see if there's more diamonds in, it's like, what about the I don't know, 100, 500,000 people who are there right now? What are you gonna do with more people?
What do
Why
people
are more followers going to be different? Like if you're not actually cultivating the ones that are there. I love that story. That was perfect.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, really, the real story here is you, because what you're doing. So I'm super excited for you to take that on the road, and hopefully in that process, we may even get to shake hands and meet in person. So that'd
You
be
know
cool.
you're on my list right there.
I
You know
appreciate you.
you're on my list for your city.
I'm so pumped. I want to switch a little bit of gears and bring it back in time a little bit here. I want to talk to you about your upbringing, right? Where was home originally for you? Where did you grow up, and where was that at?
Oh, I love that. 'Cause nobody has ever asked me that question before.
I like to know where people come from.
That's
That's a big thing
awesome.
for me.
I love it. I was born in Maracaibo, Venezuela. That's the second largest city in Venezuela, which is in South America. We
Beautiful.
speak Spanish. And fun fact is now you're learning something new. Venezuela is slightly bigger than Texas, and it
Mhm.
is above the equator. So very big misconceptions that Southern
For
Hemisphere.
those
Nope, we're
I'm a crazy geography person, so I actually even knew that, I'm
amazing.
going to St. Lucia in 2 months, so I'll be right above it, but that's enough about me.
That's great. Well, now everybody knows. Everybody who knows me needs to know those two facts about Venezuela. We're above the equator, northern hemisphere, and we are bigger than Texas. They
Perfect.
need to know these things. So
Amen.
I was born in Maracaibo, but I moved to Caracas, which is the capital city, Caracas. I just like
How
breathe
Americans.
through it in Venezuela, Caracas. And I grew up in Caracas since I was like 8 years old. And I have two sisters, one older. She has the same birthday as me. We're separated by 2 years, and I have a little sister. My little sister lives in Chile. My whole family has pretty much moved to Chile because the situation in Venezuela is just not one that you can live in any longer. So if I go back on quote unquote, if I go back home to visit family, I'm actually going to Chile, even though I've never lived there before. But yeah, that's kind of where I grew up, and I came to the U.S. for for high school, and I wanted to stay. So that story gets very like choppy because it's a lot more complicated. But I came to the U.S. for the first time to live when I was 16.
Wow. So, without getting too in depth on the story and the specific details, what I'd like to know is what was some of the earliest challenges moving, almost 2,500 miles away from home? And were your parents supportive of you and your family supportive of you? Did you receive backlash at all? What was it like?
I had the full support of my parents, and it was kind of
Oh,
funny
wonderful.
because I I grew up in an environment where I was constantly being bullied.
Hmm.
And I was bullied in school. I felt bullied at home. not by my parents. My parents are lovely people, but I did not feel great and safe and like I belonged really anywhere. Um, so when the opportunity came to move to the United States, which my parents had been talking about for a couple of years already, I was like putting all my chips in that. I'm like, please let me go someplace else where I can reinvent myself, where I am not stuck here with people who think XYZ or me of me or putting me in some kind of box. So when it finally happened, I came to the US and I was able to make friends. And that was like mind blowing to me. Like, wait a minute, there are people who like me. So I wanted to stay. I really wanted to stay. My parents said, no, you are 16 or whatever. You have to come back to Venezuela with us. So they did an amazing thing, which is like at the last minute, they enrolled me in an American school so that I could apply to college and come back. So I did that. I actually got 2 high school degrees because I was taking my Venezuelan schooling at night and I was doing my American schooling during the day. Applied for Venezuelan colleges as well as US colleges. So I was taking essentially going through double process, like taking 2
Sure.
different kinds of SATs in different languages. I would like all like duplicating everything. I did get into college here. I came and as soon as I got my acceptance letter, I packed up my entire room in boxes. And I said, I don't live here anymore. You can do whatever you want with that room. And they're like, you're not leaving for another 6 months. So like take a chill pill. But soon as I came, I was like, this is it. I am gone. I am just starting a new life. And my parents were extremely supportive. They really wanted me to succeed. They wanted me to be here. I feel like the biggest challenge that I had a huge risk, huge like red flag when I came to the US was that in the Venezuelan culture, they don't really put that much stock in extracurricular activities, leadership positions. Like colleges, all they care about is your grades. So
Right.
when I came to the US, I only focused on academics and realizing that everybody I knew in the US had been working, had had a job since they were like 14 years old. And I'm here like telling my parents, maybe I should get a job.
Right.
And I'm like 18, 19, 20 years old. I'm like, should I get a job? And they're like, no, we are paying for you to be there so that you can get good grades. So get good grades. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm not gonna get a job. I'm not gonna be able to stay here
Yeah,
if
I
I
can't
don't
work. I can't stay. Yeah.
right. If I don't start to have like the background, like actual work experience, they're not gonna let me stay. Like I'm going to just be going back to Venezuela after it's over. So they finally like relented. It's like, okay, fine. We will allow you to get a job. I'm here at 20 years old. Thank you for letting me get a job. I will do that now. And that was like complete, like that was a big cultural like
Sure.
shift for me. It was really my first time actually going and working and earning a paycheck. And in Venezuela, I was extremely privileged in being in a upper middle class family
Sure.
where, it was all about academics. My parents went to the best schools, which in Venezuela are free. It's like the Harvard of
Right.
Venezuela is free, right?
Bring that to the
So
United States, please. Like,
right? It's like that's where my parents went, right? My parents are engineers, computer people, right? So that's what I grew up in. Extremely privileged, extremely fortunate. So when I came to the US, it was like, okay, now it's time to really make it on my own and realizing what were those things that I didn't discover before. So getting those jobs. I remember my first paycheck, a whole bunch had to be taken out for taxes and everything. I made $1.58.
let's
And
go.
and my parents were like, "You should frame that." I'm like,
Or you
"This
should.
is my money."
Yeah, no, I get that. It's like my first check at Kmart when I used to push shopping carts, like, when I was 14 or 15, right? And for me
Right,
at that time, like, that was my first job. Like, I pushed shopping carts. Like, I got that check, I should put it on my wall.
right.
Like, I'm gonna go spend it. I'm a teenager. I need this money. Like,
I
totally,
need this
totally.
$1.58. These are mine. This is
Yeah.
mine. And so I feel like the biggest thing for me, like I wasn't prepared for when I came here was that there was a chance that I may not get the job that I want out of college. Right. And I feel like that's something that a lot of college kids experience. Like, well, I'm going to study this and then I'm going to get a job in this and then I will be set for life. And I thought that I was going to be a programmer. I went to school for computer science. I thought I was going to be a developer somewhere in some big company. I applied to 32 positions at IBM. I don't know why IBM was like the big thing. But I applied 32 positions and never heard back. It was very lucky that General Electric found my resume. I didn't even apply to them. They just found my resume on a database and they offered me an interview. And I'm like, okay. And that's how I got into project management for software.
Wow.
I didn't even know I had those skills. I didn't know that was a thing for me. And it completely changed like how I viewed the world. To this day, I still do some programming. Like I do make some websites. I love my HTML and my cascading style sheets and like if you know about web design, you know what I'm talking about. I still
Sure.
love getting into that the nitty-gritty, but I learned a completely different set of skills. I had kind of landed us here really.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I'm like in the grade school line. I'm probably like a third or fourth grader with HTML.
Right?
So I understand how to, do div and separate things and, little basic stuff. But kudos to you because, first of all, again, you applied to IBM for multiple positions multiple times, right? And you ended up in a resume database because of that, I'm sure, which is why General Electric found you. And
Right.
it's funny as younger individuals, and hopefully are hearing this as well. Your life isn't linear. You're not just gonna be like, "All right, school, college, and I'm gonna
Exactly.
get this exact job."
Yeah.
And then number 1, even if you don't, you're not a failure because of it. Maybe it's just not in your path, and maybe it's not gonna use all of your talents the way, you even thought you'd be using your talents, right? For me, I
Right.
never thought I'd get into boxing in my life. That's a whole different conversation, but if you had asked anybody, they would have said, "Ron box? No, he's a lover. He's not a fighter. He's
Right.
not that guy." So, you just don't know, but you gotta be open to the possibilities. And, coming here and learning that, like, okay, I need a job, and that being a big challenge. I would think that the even bigger challenge, and maybe you could elaborate on this is, the fear element of, am I gonna fit in? Am I gonna make friends? Is it gonna be the right move for me? And then still having the courage to get yourself on the plane, your whole life packed in boxes, and start fresh. And then when you got here, you realize like, wow, this was the right move all along.
I am gonna tell you, I still remember the very first night that, because my parents came and they dropped me off in school. And I went to school at UMass Amherst, which is in a rural area, Western Massachusetts. And they dropped me off, and I was there for international orientation. Because international people come a week earlier to kind of get acclimated, they get some guidance. So I was staying in a dorm that wasn't even going to be my permanent dorm with this girl from England. And I remember when we shut off the lights, I still have the picture of looking up at the ceiling and the light reflecting from the window and me realizing my parents are gone.
Yeah.
This is like I'm nowhere near home. This is a language, the English, I've only been fluent for 2 years. Like,
Right.
this is still not I'm still trying to figure out what are every single word that people are saying in their sentences. Because, you tend to like, if you hear enough words, if you're learning a new language, you know this. If you hear enough words, you kind of get the gist of what the person is saying.
Of course.
But you don't necessarily try to pay attention to that they intended to say every single word that they said and why they said it that way. So I'm still trying to figure that out. And I'm here realizing like that this is it. And it's kind of like a sink or swim situation. I didn't want to go back to Venezuela. Again,
Or
beautiful country. I never wanted to be like I'm throwing any casting shade on
no, like,
Venezuela. My personal experience with bullying made me really afraid of having to go back. And so this was like one of those situations, and it wasn't easy. I mean, I did not get straight A's my first year. I was still trying to navigate schedules. I had never had to like, you
a
know,
whole new culture,
ve- everything completely different. Still trying to figure out where I fit in. Um, I was very, very fortunate to make some good friends right off the bat, right? Like my roommate in college, like she was like my ride or die, right? I remember us like it was raining outside and we went out like skipping around the building,
Oh,
singing in the rain, right? Like I started to feel that sense of belonging with the American culture, which is really strange to explain because I have an accent, right? So immediately when people hear me speak, they imagine, Spanish being my first language, like home is someplace else. And the reality is that I felt such affinity to this particular American culture that
love it.
it just sounds so weird to say it with this accent, right? It sounds so weird to say like this felt like home to me.
Yeah, well, I think accent aside, it is home to you because that's part the accent is still part of who you are. You're still from Venezuela and that will always be part of who you are, right? And that's like something that obviously you embrace and you should embrace. It's when people try to be something they're not is when
Yeah.
they run into problems,
Yeah.
right? You were just being you and then you naturally attracted people into your life when you came here because of your kindness and who you are, right? And your willingness to put yourself out there and also be open to those relationships. So I feel like with social media specifically, especially nowadays, well, we both grew up in the age of non-social media.
Mhm.
So, when you wanted to make friends, you had to talk to them in person or pick up the phone or show up to their house and knock on their door or go see them, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I think that's kind of a lost art. And then number 2 is, you were able to, do that in real time in a whole other country and make friends and open those relationships up when some other people might have let fear get the better of them. "Oh my god, what am I doing here? This isn't home anymore. Am I gonna succeed?" And all those questions that run in your mind when doubt creeps in, and you had the courage to stick it out, so kudos to you.
And I have to tell you that I don't know where this came from, but it's something that I would recommend to everybody is acting even if fear is there. For some
Yes.
reason, I
Sure.
at some point I started to treat my life like it's a game. And now there's some games where the stakes are really high, right? So the fear can really climb and it makes it harder to act. But it started to become like, if I don't do that thing, things are going to stay the same, right? But if I try something new, maybe something new will come out of it. With that, it just reminded me with those 32 applications to IBM. This was the beginning of Google, by the way. This was like, we are from the beginning of the internet era.
Yeah.
So I found online the phone number of somebody's office in IBM in like Boulder, Colorado. And I found that phone number and I called it. And I'm like, what have I got to lose? And I call him
Nothing.
like, hi, I am looking for whoever the hiring manager was for a particular. I'm looking for so and so. Like, can you like transfer me? And they're like, oh yeah, they're down the hall. But how did you get this number? So they never actually put me through. But it was just trying things. Like you never know. And it's just a matter of continuously just trying something else. If you think it, do it. As long as it's not
Mhm.
something like unethical,
Crazy.
immoral, like please stay out of jail, right? Be a good person. But whatever you can do to make something happen, like who knows how General Electric got a hold of that resume in a database, right? Like who
Mm,
knows how that happened, but I know that it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been putting myself out there and submitting my resume to things and doing things. And we're just talking like very like small potatoes, like college life, right? But
yeah,
that translates into everything that I did right after that, right? Or every
yeah.
opportunity that came after that. It was something that I was actively doing something right now to do something different, to try something else.
You also built a foundation of beliefs that now, as you got new information, met new people, and started to get more enveloped by the culture, that you ran all that information through what Brian Tracy calls a screen of beliefs, right? We all have that screen of beliefs, and that comes from our demographic, our environment we grew up in, etc., and our experiences. And now, whenever we take new information, we run it through that screen, and then we decide based on our perception if that information's good or bad.
Yeah.
But we're deciding that we don't, it actually might be neither, right?
You just like lit a light bulb in my brain. So this is something I don't talk about a lot. But every woman out there, every immigrant out there, they know that they are basically the underdog, like wherever they are, because we
Yeah.
are, we are underestimated. We are treated differently. There's assumptions that are made about us just because we have an accent or just because we're a woman, or like there's all of these biases around, right? I grew up in a culture in Venezuela where women rule the world, right? Where like my mother was the first graduate of her college in computer engineering, right?
Wow.
So like I grew up in a place where it's like, yeah, you can do anything. Like being a woman is not a, it's not a negative. It's just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Even coming from like a very like machista culture, right? Like very like a macho oriented culture, I never felt that my potential was going to be stifled by me being a woman. It wasn't a thing. In the United States, the culture is actually a little bit harder in that sense, right?
Right.
But I didn't know it. I didn't know it, so I didn't internalize it. So whenever I would come up against obstacles that could have been because of gender bias, I never in my mind thought that must have been because I'm a woman. That must have been because I'm an immigrant. I always thought, oh, it's just me. So I just have to be better. And so I have to say something. Gender bias exists. It's a
Yes.
thing. It is out there and it is preventing people from reaching their goals. At the same time, these two things can be true at the same time. Gender bias exists. And yes, there are forces trying to keep women and minorities down. They exist. They're there, right?
Right.
At the same time, if we as women, as minorities, as immigrants, continue to use that to stop ourselves,
Or
then
as
we're not,
saying,
that's a crutch. We're not going to get anywhere because we're going to keep thinking, well, the wall is there and it's too hard to climb and it's there for everybody. So
we're
therefore, I'm just
limited.
not even going to try. So I was very, very fortunate that for many years, I'm going to say like at least a whole decade, I was unaware of those outside forces that were acting on me. I was
Mhm.
severely underpaid in my job. I always thought, oh, it's because of my own decisions, right? Like I was not taken into consideration for promotions, for this, for that, for this, for that. And I'm just here thinking, it's me. I just have to be better. And it was actually, it worked in my favor because it made me
Yeah.
act in different ways, right? It made me not think of myself like, well, this is all you could do and the system is rigged and everything sucks. I just kept trying to think like, what can I do? What can I do? It goes back to what we were saying in the beginning about control. What do I have control over? Once I started to see the gender bias and once I started to see like people taking credit for my work and like things like that,
Yeah.
then you start to go like, man, that really stinks. But I can't internalize it. I can't just say that's there and now I can't do anything about it. I gotta keep going. So I want to like, I would love to inject that thought of control into everybody who's listening. That yes, there, even if you're not a woman or a minority, right? White males, everybody,
Sure.
we all have a certain level of obstacles out there, right?
Yep.
Everybody, and some are harder than others. Some are systemic, institutionalized. Some are
Right.
there. There's no doubt that there are just forces trying to keep us down. I am going to encourage you to continue moving forward and not put that against you. Other people might. Other people
Yep.
will. Other people are going to try to keep you down. You can't do that to yourself. In your own mind, think of yourself as the ruler of your life, the one that is in control of everything. And please go out and make your own opportunities as much as you can. I hope
Yeah.
that message is clear.
Oh my God, it's such a big one, and like just I'm listening to you talk and I'm even thinking about like, you could even say that with the bully mindset, right? Like because as someone who was picked on for being skinny as a younger guy, like and things like that, and it was hard for me from an athletic standpoint to advance in my early years, like, well, you don't have to stay like you have control, and then from the standpoint of there are these things that exist, right? Like systemic racism and things of that nature towards minorities or people with accents, etc., does exist, but it's
Yeah.
what we actually do about it to move forward in our own lives and then get around the right people, right? Like, racism exists, but I don't uh, I don't hang out with anybody that would ever view the color of skin or an accent and listen to their word, give them credit for things. Like, you're not somebody I hold in value to my life because you can't see past skin color or somebody's voice. You can't see the other value that people bring to the table. So a lot of times it's more of a them issue than it is, like you said, an us issue, right? And letting them project that onto us and stop us from getting to the next levels of our life, they win. They win if we let them do.
Yeah,
So no matter if you're, a certain religion, a certain race, a certain color, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. What matters is getting around the right people and what you do about it for your own life and believing that, like you said, you are 100% in control of your outcome. And trying at least to once you realize that, you start making different decisions. And
exactly.
that brings me very much into your corporate life. You got picked by General Electric after you put all those resumes out. And then I want to talk to you about a little bit, what was corporate life like? And then I know we've spoke about off camera that it was a male dominated field. And it also, you had some sexism things go on that made you leave that field and end up on your entrepreneurial journey. Talk to me a little bit about what the corporate life was like when you first started and how it ended, and how did you end up becoming an entrepreneur?
Oh, yes. Thank you for the opportunity to share this story because I know that everybody out there has a similar thing that has happened to them. Like, I feel like moving to entrepreneurship is something that we all want to do, but if things are going well enough in our jobs, then we don't necessarily feel the impetus, the urgency to quit our jobs and just start
You're
something from
comfortable.
scratch, something that is scary, like usually, especially for women, for minorities, or people in these groups, usually something happens at work that makes like the scale just completely tip and make you go, okay, then I've had enough. So I had that moment when I first started in corporate. I was very eager, very overzealous. I wanted to excel in everything that I did. And like I said, I didn't notice when people were trying to keep me down or when the feedback was sexist, right? Like, I was one of the top performers of my first class in GE, right? Like, I went through this management training program and I was like one of the top performers there. Everybody loved my work, everybody loved working with me. But the feedback that I kept getting every single year was, you need to improve your communication. You need to like pay attention to the audience, right? Like, who are you speaking to? And I always
Yeah.
took that in. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, okay, yeah, I want to be a better communicator. Okay, I'll fix it. But it
Funny
was
how we
really
turn tables with that, right?
right? Yes,
Right.
like I think we
We'll get
mastered it. Killed it. Mic drop, right?
uh-huh.
So yeah, so when I was getting this feedback, I didn't know that there was gender bias in that feedback, right? That this is the kind of feedback that women get is, like, people don't like you enough. Like you need to just be more likable, right? So that's the kind of feedback we get. We don't get feedback on our KPIs. We don't get feedback on our results. We get feedback on, are you likable or not? Like, because if you're not likable, you're just not gonna go anywhere, right? But I didn't know that. Again, like, I was completely oblivious to gender bias. So I just kept going. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to be a better communicator? I need to stop getting this feedback, right? So
Right.
I became an excellent communicator, right? Like way above average. Then, I moved around a little bit inside the same company. Then I changed jobs, and then I changed jobs again. And I was in a male dominated field. I work in software. I used to be the one telling software developers what to do. And it was always kind of hard to go into a new team because I know my stuff. Like, I'm gonna toot my own horn here and just say I was an excellent project manager. I could go into a
Believe it.
team and within a week, I would already be improving the quality of people's lives in there just by establishing some processes. And it was funny because I was in consulting for a while and I went to client sites and they would all tell me it's probably going to take you about a month to get your bearings and to understand our processes and understand our product. And I'm like, yeah, give me a week.
Like, don't set my expectations for me. You don't know me and what I'm
Right.
capable of right now. So, no,
You
no.
clearly don't know what this is. So a week later, I was already exceeding expectations. So I became really good at it. And as I was moving up the ladder, I ended up at a startup where I basically, as soon as I got hired, I became pregnant. And I was so funny because I, during the first trimester, my nausea was triggered by these yellow walls in the office.
Oh,
So I would go into meetings and be like, "Is the yellow wall bothering you?" People are
really
like,
not affected
"No."
right now.
Like, "Is there anything on the yellow wall?" You're like, right? It's so weird, but people are like, "You're a weirdo." So anyway, so I was doing my best work at this startup company. I loved it. I had no fear at that point. If I had a conflict with somebody, I would put them in a room and be like, "Let's talk about it. Let's talk this out because we have to work
Right
together."
here.
Like,
Yeah.
right? I became an excellent communicator, excellent at what I was doing, to the point that at one point I was like 8.5 months pregnant, right? And my boss calls me into his office, and my boss is the chief technology officer, and he starts to pick my brain on this problem. And I'm here like, okay, well, this is what I would do. And he's like, okay, I want you to do that now. Drop everything you're doing and do it now. I'm like, I already have a job that is keeping me kind of busy. And I am like 8.5 months pregnant. Like I'm leaving for maternity leave any day. And you want me
Right.
to stop and do this now? And he's like, yes. I'm like, I'm up for the challenge. Bring it. If anybody can do this, it's me. Let's do it. So I hired a contractor to backfill the position I was leaving. I hired a contractor to follow me, to shadow me as I solve this new problem so that if I end up going into labor, somebody else can take it over. And I started fixing the problem. During that month, during those 2 weeks, my boss puts out a new org chart saying, okay, Ina is going to be the new implementations manager for the company. That really should have been a director position. That's probably something I would have negotiated at the time, right? But new implementations manager reporting to C suite, creating a new team, and figuring all this stuff out. Great, amazing. Then 2 weeks later, I feel like, okay, I'm done solving it. It's now a matter of like, the contractor can take it over. I'm going to go maternity leave. But we need to talk about this promotion that you just gave me because you failed to mention a pay raise. And his answer was, well, your skill set hasn't really changed. You were a project manager yesterday, and you're going to be using management skills in this position. So technically, we don't have to give you a raise because it's kind of the same thing, right? And I'm like, oh, no, no,
Nope.
mhm, no. I sat him down and I explained to him, like he's a 5-year-old, why this is a promotion and why it needs to come with a pay increase. And he just goes, "Ah, you're going on maternity leave anyway." So that, my friends, is illegal. It's illegal to withhold a pay increase or a promotion to someone who is leaving for maternity leave. So at the time, I had already started a side hustle making websites. And one of
Did
my
you know that
clients,
at the time, Ina?
did I what?
Did you know that it was illegal at the time
No,
when
but I contacted this client that I had for whose website I made, and he was an employment lawyer. So I asked him, is this just not nice? Or is this like a real, like legal thing? And he's like, no, it's a thing. He sent me the law. He's like, this is the law he's breaking. But how far do you want to take this? Now, remember, I'm 9 months pregnant. If anybody has ever had a baby, you know that whatever anxiety you are feeling does get transferred. Like you don't want that, that, all that anxiety to be traveling through your body as you are about to go through something like
Sure.
labor, right?
Sure.
So I have people in my family, my husband, my mother telling me, please just have the baby, deal with it when you get back. I'm like, okay, let's put a pin on that. We're not done with this conversation. I'll be back. I have my baby. And 8 weeks into maternity leave, they call me. I had taken 4 months. I went from September to January. They called me up and they said, hey, so remember that promotion? So the contractor that you hired to backfill you has been doing such an amazing job that we're going to let him keep that job. Would you mind going back to what you were doing before the promotion?
Oh gosh.
And that's when I was like, okay. I did. I'm like, is this really where you want my skills? Like, is this the best place for me in this company? And they said, yes, absolutely. So I did go back for 1 week just to see, just like, am I getting this right? Am I
Right.
really truly understanding what they're asking of me? And I went back and I'm like, like, this is not gonna fly. Like,
No.
literally, I had basically been, like, demoted, and I'm like, "I can't do this." I talked to my husband, I told him, "I would really like to give my business a shot because this is not worth it to me to be away from my kids for 2 hours a day commuting, just 2 hours or commuting to
Right.
work for these people who clearly have no idea what this is," right? And I'm pointing at myself, like,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
do not know what they have here. So I would like to start my business. And my husband said, okay. We looked at our finances. We said it makes sense. And that's kind of when we started. So
Wow.
usually something happens at work that makes you go, that's it. Because if they had done right by it, if they had said, this is a director position with a salary increase and we appreciate your contributions, I probably wouldn't even be here. I probably would still be moving up the corporate ladder, right?
Sure.
But there's something about entrepreneurship and that sense of control that we keep talking about that I really, really like. I love that when it comes to entrepreneurship, I have control over what my next steps are. I have control over how I spend my day. Yesterday, I didn't have any meetings, but that didn't mean that I didn't have any work. And
Sure.
my kids had a half day because that happens in this state that I like 2 Wednesdays a
Yeah.
month. It's a
Yeah.
half day for kids. And I'm here around to take them out, take them to the diner with their friends, right? I get to be a part of my life. And at the same time, get to have interviews like this one with amazing people like you. And this is my job, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
and same, and it's and you know what's so crazy? Like, there's so again, like, oh, you just get my brain going because, you and I are both, critical thinkers and deep thinkers, but number 1, to the corporate side of things is, you ever see the movie The Interview,
yes, I have.
You know how James Franco says, "They hate us because they ain't us," right?
Oh,
Hate us
yes.
because they ain't us. There's a certain level I'm not saying obviously, we know the sexism piece exists, and that happens. It 100% is part of this equation. No doubt about it, by the way.
Right.
I will say, though, that there is also when you're good at something and you're confident, you get people that get jealous. You get people, that are in poor leadership positions that have a big ego, that don't have the skills to back it up, threatened by it as
True.
well. And that translates to the way they move around you, the way they interact with you, right? And now they had an opportunity while you were gone to say, "Hey, she's no longer a threat to me. She's not in the office. Let's build up her backup, and then make it really challenging for her when she comes back." Well, you know what? Uh, Thank you. I owe you a thank you because it brought me to the life I am today. And when you said to me, about the entrepreneurial journey and climbing the corporate ladder, not to get into me too much here, but like I was gun ho destined to work for Audi corporate. I was in retail automotive. I was going to work for Audi corporate. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach people product knowledge on cars. I'm a crazy car nut and I know all about that stuff. It comes natural to me, kind of like how, computer science and coding started to just become this is easy. It's fluid. You don't have to think too hard to do it. Right. And then I met someone, again, power of relationships, somebody that showed me that, there's a better way to do things and I could help you do that. And having somebody that stepped into my life as a mentor, Mr. Sandy Sarami, and brought me out of that corporate world and retail world onto an entrepreneurial journey where I get to now, the whole point of me wanting to go to corporate was because I wanted to touch more lives. And now,
Right.
like literally, he empowered me to touch more lives. And I'm having this interview because of the power of a relationship with somebody that allows me to do this, right? And I don't
Right.
ever take that for granted, and I know you don't either, because you had such an incredible also control, yes, but you can't get control without the belief in yourself. I couldn't step out to work with Sandy if I didn't believe I was capable of it to some degree. Yes, nervous, absolutely. When I speak in front of people to this day, do I get butterflies? Yeah, of course I do. Even before our interview, but it's again, what do you do in the face of it? When I
Yeah.
step into the boxing ring, am I nervous? Mike Tyson talks about it. Yeah, you're nervous. You got butterflies, but it's once you get in there and then will you still perform in spite of? So you knew being an entrepreneur, stepping out of that corporate world would be a challenge, but you also saw it as an opportunity and you had enough belief in yourself to go after it and chase it. So again, kudos to you. I'm so curious. Like now you leave corporate and you're in that entrepreneurial seat. What are the first couple things you do?
Oh my
When
god.
how
All
do you
the
how do
wrong
you
all the wrong
finance?
things. All the wrong things. Every wrong thing you can think of, I did. All right?
Sure.
I in my first year, the first thing I did was create an online course because I didn't want clients, didn't want to deal with people. I'm smarter than everybody else. I've been writing documentation forever. I could write a course in my sleep. So I created an online course for 6 months and I went and I sold it and I got crickets. I sold like 4 copies, all discounted. I'm like, well, that didn't work. Okay, I guess I need to try something else. Right? I paid so much money to a Facebook ads agency to try
Um,
to grow my audience. And like that doesn't work because Facebook works on history. And on like it's almost like think of it like AI. They need to learn what kind of audience resonates with your content, what kind of audience is clicking on it, what kind of audience would act on it. And without any history, it's just not gonna work. It's literally like just like throwing spaghetti at the wall, literally, and see
it's
what
not stick.
sticks. So
Slide it right down.
lots of money invested in that.
Lots of spaghetti.
Lots of spaghetti, lots of money invested in things that I didn't need. But I'm the kind of personality that is motivated by FOMO. And this hasn't stopped. This hasn't ended. Like FOMO is a thing that I cannot stand the fear of missing out. I can't. That's what motivates me primarily. So when I first started out, that was a very I wasn't aware of that. So that was very raw. Like
You can put your
I
finger on what it was, but you felt it.
yeah. So I it was a very immature state, right? Like my business, my self-awareness was in a very immature state. So it was like a little kid who was given a credit card, right? It's like, oh, June,
Oh, I can go buy things. I can go
ah,
buy things. I won't have to worry about this free money. Woo!
right? Not to say that that had anything to do with my credit. I have excellent credit. I'm great with my finances.
Yeah, just a
But
disclaimer.
I did get myself into debt because I didn't understand what ROI meant in this business, right? That it's fine to go and invest into a $10,000 mastermind, right? Because you're going to be around people who are also investing at that level, who are going to open your doors to opportunities. But if you are immature in your process of understanding yourself, of understanding how to make the most of these experiences, all you're doing is throwing your money down the toilet. So I did that a lot until I finally started to wise up because I did end up making money in my business because I had to get resourceful. I had to get crafty. I was like,
I start
okay,
making money.
right?
Oh,
I can't just keep putting things on a credit card. Like I need to start making money. So I discovered a little while later, like maybe two years into my business, I discovered that I was making money, but I was still thinking that the size of my audience was my biggest credibility marker. So I kept investing in programs and coaches to try to grow my audience, not realizing that I had already cracked the code. I was already making money. I was already coaching. I could just grow and double down on what I had done. So that's when I started teaching about, hey, you can grow your business no matter what the size of your audience is, right? And now I'm in a wave of like realizing that all of this is just tactical, right? But what's really important is that you understand that you have control over your life. If you believe that you have that control and you start to exercise it, your confidence is going to build. That's where
right,
your confidence comes from, is from taking those actions and then seeing the results. So, yeah, my first year of business, I made every mistake in the book, but
right, right.
then there's that bug in your mind that tells you, I just can't give up.
I
I
can't
just,
give up.
I
You're
gotta
addicted.
keep going.
Yeah.
I gotta keep trying. I gotta keep meeting people and studying what they do and see what's gonna work for me and what isn't, and trying and trying and trying. Several podcasts later, several pivots later, several branding sessions later, like here I am, and I'm nowhere near stopping, and I keep coming up
Sure.
with new things to try. And that is just what makes this job the best job in the world. That I can make anything I want with it.
Right, and I totally agree, because it's like, you know, when it starts getting tough, like, the pressure element of it, like, as they say, pressure makes diamonds, right? Back to
Right.
diamond,
Right. Back to
but
them.
but it's so true because in the back of your mind, when you're feeling that pressure, you got the credit cards that are all, let's just say at the time, maxed out because you just throwing money and seeing what sticks. You're like, there's that piece of you that says, I know I'm capable of this. I just have to find the right puzzle piece, the right piece of the equation. And it's no different than when we're trying to attract people. Like, you said you were so focused at the time on audience growth rather than the quality of the relationships you already had and the skills that you already were able to bring to the table and bridging those together rather than trying to focus on how many people are going to follow me and like my content,
Yeah.
right? And then we talk about in our business, Sandy and I, the difference between pressure and persuasion is technique. So
Mm,
all we have to do is just adjust our technique a little bit. And if we can do that with a healthy bit of ego, but a nice healthy bit of humility and and add some confidence,
yeah.
put that into the equation, we're going to find success, right?
Yeah.
So it's just don't give up. I think is the biggest message. Ina, what would you say to women out there that are looking to start their entrepreneurial journey who may have be in a male dominated field even who are scared to take that first step? What would be the biggest single biggest piece of advice you would give them if they wanted to start their own business, podcast, or anything like that?
Uh, I I I am saying this knowing exactly how it sounds. I don't like how this sounds, but you have to hear me out because it's true.
Fine.
You have to get yourself a coach. Like I'm sorry to anybody who wanted a free step by step. You can Google those. Okay? Go on Google and say, what do I have to do to create a course? What do I have to do to stand out on social media? You can Google all those things. But when you work with a coach that knows what they're doing, you are borrowing years of experience that you don't have yet. It's like basically growing a second brain, right? A brain that has already walked this path that you are about to start. They've already walked this path many times over. So you need the benefit of somebody looking at what you're doing and being able to, in a very gentle way, right? In a way that doesn't violently wake up the sleepwalker, right? In a very gentle way, move you towards a path that is going to feel more effortless, right? It's still going to feel hard. Choose your
Yeah.
hard. Every path is going to be hard in entrepreneurship, right? But you gotta have a way of doing it in a way that feels less effort to you, in a way that feels more natural, in a way that feels that it aligns with your values, right? Because I'm not saying out there, this is like the biggest objection to like working with a coach or like investing really big when you start is that, wait a minute, but that coach really wants me to get on 25 sales calls in a week. I don't have time for that. That coach really wants me to start a YouTube channel, but I'm afraid of being on camera. That coach wants me to go and pay for Facebook ads. I don't really have the budget for that, right? So
Mhm.
a good coach is going to listen to where you are and tell you if you want to get there and avoid all of these obstacles that I already know are there, then this is going to be your best path, right? A good coach is going to be able to guide you. So I hate it that it's just not like, oh, like I hate it that it sounds like, okay, you need to go and hire somebody, but that's really it. You're
Yeah.
gonna see because I did this. The first thing I did was hire myself a coach, but even then I wasn't listening to them. So if you're gonna hire a coach, listen to them. Use them as your second brain, and you're gonna be far more successful in your first year than if you went at it alone, just Googling things as you go and paying for like cheap stuff
Yeah.
or downloading every freebie, right? You're going to go much farther when you have somebody holding your hand and guiding you through it.
We can never do anything in this life, I feel, completely by ourselves.
Or it's
Yes,
going to take you
uh,
a really long time and a
it
lot
will
of frustration and risk you wanting to quit because it's
yeah,
just going to take you way too long. Yeah.
yeah, even again, parallel to boxing, yeah, as a boxer, you get in the ring by yourself, but all the prep work behind the scenes, your coaches, your actual boxing coach, your strength coach, your nutrition coach, all these people that come together to help you achieve what you're doing in there by yourself, and then you have to, again, go out and perform. And like you said too, with the Google element, somebody could Google how to learn how to throw a punch, but it's so different when
Right.
somebody's showing it to you. So in the
Right.
business world, same thing where, you could Google how to make an online course, how to make a marketing funnel, how to build a landing page, but it's so different learning from somebody who already did it. And the other piece too is, do they understand your problem? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and if they and know your personality. Google doesn't know your problem or your personality. They
Right.
just know the information you put into it, and here you go. That's what you asked. So when you
And
have a coach that actually understands you, it elevates the experience. So
right.
the
What are
chemistry is
your what are your strengths? What are the things that stop you? What like Google doesn't know that. I'm so glad that you said it that way. Like Google doesn't know what your biggest mindset block is and
mhm.
how to get around it. You might not even know what your biggest mindset block is.
No,
Right? You might not know it, but a good coach is going to recognize it a mile away. I have, whenever I get on a call with anybody, I have these dog whistles, right? Like things that people say that immediately trigger in my brain, like, I know what their block is. And I
listen,
can't just tell them what their block is because it doesn't you
you have
can't
to guide
yeah, you can't understand it because it's a blind spot. It's a true blind spot. A good
them. Mhm.
coach helps you navigate that and will help you get to where you want to go in a lot less time with a lot less struggle,
Yeah,
and for a lot less money than if you hadn't. That is just the truth. And I have been a freebie hoarder myself. I'm going to tell you the first time that I ran into entrepreneurship and the first time that I ran into online marketing was back in 2015. This was three whole years before I actually went and did the thing. But back then, just by listening to podcasts and by downloading freebies, I was like, oh, I can create a freebie to grow my email list. I
right.
had no idea what I would do if people actually signed up for my mailing list.
And
What
said, yeah,
what 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 was my product? What was my
yeah,
brand? What was I trying to do with this? But I spent an entire year trying to create a freebie and it never saw the light of day. Never
wow.
saw the light of day.
Yeah, and again, it just, like, goes back to the mindset element, right? And just believing in yourself and knowing that it's possible, but then also, again, you need help. So, if you're in an industry that you don't know much about or you're looking to enter an industry, what if somebody did say yes? What do you do then? So,
Right.
like, all these startups out there, entrepreneurs that have in their mind such a great offer, I'm handling a huge problem for my target audience. Well, they all said yes. What now? How are you
Right?
delivering it? So if you don't have the right
Now what?
coaching and the right mindset, it's hard to overcome that. Speaking of mindset, Ina, talk to me a little bit about today what you're doing to help entrepreneurs develop what you call that 10x mindset. I
Oh
think
my, this is
it's such an awesome thing.
this is my favorite subject now. It's
Me,
because
mindset. Let's
yeah,
go.
it's something that I have been doing like all along and not realizing that I'm doing it. And that is this 10x thinking, right? And I'm going to give a shout out to this book. Everybody needs to read this book. This book is called 10x is easier than 2x. Everybody needs to be reading. Are you reading it, Ron?
It's actually, if I didn't have it by my desk right now, it's because it's on my nightstand and I just started diving into it. I bought it through you, so thank you.
Oh my goodness. I'm telling you,
Grant Cardone's 10X. It's a totally different thing.
yes,
Totally different.
completely different thing. And I right now, what I'm most fired up by is working with people who are just done trying to do the freebie hoarding, right? Who are like, you know what? I have big dreams and I'm done just pedaling and just getting nowhere, right? Like it's time to really do this. So I'm spending my time now really being a mentor, like a direct mentor to people where we can meld our brains and work on things together. So I actually this is an offer that has been a long time coming, and it's something that I only take very few people at a time because it does mean I get into their business. I act
Invest.
I act as if their business is my own. I think about their business in off hours, right? This is not regular coaching anymore. I do provide coaching services. I have a coaching program. I give people my brain on like, this is what I think you should be doing. But right now I'm in this season where I want to be the co-pilot, where I want to be like, you know what? If I were you, these are things that I'll be doing because I know your strengths and I know what you're going through and what your audience needs, and I go and co-create businesses with people. So
Uh,
it's an amazing process because I actually get to learn a completely different discipline. I get to learn a completely different business and then just apply all of these online marketing, online marketing funnels and everything. But like it's just such a small part
that's
of it.
secondary, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a small part of it. The biggest part is this 10x thinking. Is that not is it not conforming to just what is your next logical step? Is they really wanting to make huge leaps in the next 6 months, in the next year, and how we get there together? So that's what I've been focusing on right now. And it's been such an amazing journey. One of my clients through this process actually made it on the TEDx stage. Just and
Wow.
she when we
Yeah, I
first
saw
started,
that.
right?
Uh-huh.
When we first started working together, she was making like zero money in her business. We got her to six figures in her first year, right? And then the following year, she was on the TEDx stage. And this is somebody that is only thinking 10x jumps. And I was there to be able to support her every step of the way with basically we blended our brains. She was not perfect at every single task that it took to get there. I was able to complement on her knowledge and complement on her skill set, and together we made an amazing team. So that is what I'm focusing on right now. It's just like it's been a wonderful ride to just get to learn brand new businesses and get to apply everything that I have learned over the past several years of coaching, of online marketing, of public speaking, of PR, all of those things applying to a single business and watching them grow and thrive. It's my life's work now.
Isn't it funny, Ina, how what you were originally doing as an entrepreneur, yes, the web development piece, but the not having to have to grow your audience and prioritizing revenue and really the quality of the relationships ended up becoming you co-piloting businesses and helping people do it, right? Like,
Really?
the coaching element is so much deeper than just giving people the what,
Yeah.
of, "Okay, well, do this, do that, make these changes to your Instagram profile," all that. It's
Right.
the next level of that, which is I'm actually gonna tailor everything directly to you. I'm gonna understand your problems. I'm gonna get invested in your problems as well.
Yeah.
So you're offering such a unique experience for individuals, that want to grow. So I'm curious, how do people reach out to you, to be able to work with you directly, and how do they apply to do that essentially? Because I know you don't just take anybody. So
Yeah, no, the best thing that you can do is just to send me a DM on Instagram. I'm
okay.
on Instagram at Ina Coveney, but you have to spell Coveney right. It ends in EY. People forget the EY at the end, and I know that you can see it in the show notes how to spell my name. But Ina Coveney, send me a DM. Tell me that you heard about this opportunity right here in Ron's show. And then I'll guide you from there. Okay. We'll have a conversation. We'll see if this is right for you, see if you're ready for this, because this is a 10x jump right there. And then
Yeah.
we will take next steps from there. So definitely just send me a DM, and that's where you start. I'm the one who responds to my own DMs. There is no middle person. There is no, I only use ManyChat for for little promotions in my social media. But if you send me a DM, you're not going to get an automated response. You're going to get me right there. So
Yeah.
send me a DM and we can start talking.
Let's go. Go have a conversation with Ina about how she can help you develop that 10x mindset and grow your business. She'll be literally, as she said, a co-pilot right next to you. Ina, as we close out here, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for being so gracious with your time. This has been an awesome time. As we close out, I do want to ask you two last questions that are tailored to the audience, to kind of give them something to reflect on in their own lives, right? So what's one thing that you do in your life today that your younger self wouldn't believe?
Being on camera every day. I guess so this a very weird job. Okay? This is very strange to actually get to be on camera all the time, right? To like speak to people that you can't even see. It could be hundreds of people, it could be thousands of people. How do you tell somebody that when you like your job is going to be talking to thousands of people over the computer every day?
Uh-huh.
That is just mind blowing. But The fact that I am not working in corporate, that would blow my younger self's mind. I
Okay.
grew up in a very corporate household with my parents both being corporate people, and me
Mm,
growing up thinking that the only way to make money, to be successful, was to climb the corporate ladder and make it to the corner office. That was it. That was the only example I had. It was a real like mind break when I graduated college and I started having all of these ideas for
mhm,
businesses, for things that I wanted to do, but I had no examples. I literally
right.
had nowhere to turn. This wasn't a thing. So I if I could if I if I had to answer that question to my younger self, yeah, you're not gonna be working in corporate and you're going to be
Cool.
impacting thousands of lives every day.
I absolutely love it. How do you think that people can develop more courage when facing fear?
Give yourself the opportunity to try something towards that fear. It doesn't have to be all out, right? If you are afraid of public speaking, maybe don't apply to be on TV just yet. Give yourself an opportunity to try it, right? Like if you have a friend who has a podcast, ask them, "Can I be on your podcast? I feel like I could talk about this." That is a great opportunity for you to practice public speaking, right? With something that is, low stakes, lower audience, right? But give you practice. Because I feel like something that is really lost in this entrepreneurial world, like all these inspiration podcasts that we listen to and everything, is that we all feel like we need to tell ourselves, hey, I deserve and I've earned, the biggest opportunity tomorrow. I should have 10 million followers right now because I'm awesome and because I deserve it. What we're missing here is experience. Experience is huge. Like you don't realize the impact that experience is going to have in the opportunities that come to you, in how ready you are to take on bigger opportunities, right? The fact that I'm going to be interviewing like these big wigs,
I
right?
can't
That
wait.
I can't wait either. I am so excited about it. But I have been podcasting for 12 years. Now, does that mean that you have to wait 12 years to interview people like that? No, but I can tell you right now that the experience that I have gathered interviewing entrepreneurs for the past 12 years has served me to be prepared and to be ready to get into that room and be confident that I'm going to do a great job. So don't leave experience behind. Definitely keep doing your affirmations, keep telling yourself you can get there, you deserve this, you've earned this. Keep telling yourself these things, but don't let that stop you from taking the smaller steps to build that experience that is just naturally going to build your confidence. I am going to be in a room with those people and I don't know what it's going to be like, but I know that I'm going to be doing an amazing job. And that's confidence. And I'm not just saying that to myself to make myself feel better. It's because I have a track record that I have proven to myself that I can do this. That's how confidence gets built.
I love it. So so using courage to go ahead and attack those experiences, and then when you go through those experiences and they compound over time, we build confidence to be able to allow ourselves the opportunity to get into those bigger rooms or have those bigger conversations with a potential client that it would be huge for your business, right? So
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And then lastly, Ina, if you had a magic cell phone and you could leave your younger self a voicemail when you were struggling the most, what message would you leave yourself?
It gets better. There are people out there who will actually love you and appreciate you for who you are and everything you bring because you are kind, because you are considerate, you are a nice person, and people value that. So, right now, people may not see it. Right now, people may be putting you in a box and using you to make themselves feel better. But I want you to know you are going to find your people. You're going to find what you do. You're going to find the love of your life. You're going to have amazing children who adore you and who are going to be amazing human beings. And you are going to teach them not to be like those people who are mean to you right now. And they are going to make the world better because you are you. So just keep going because you're going to get there.
Mic drop. I absolutely love that, and I could tell that you felt that as you said it, and I appreciate you for being so vulnerable and sharing your story, Ina, and just everything about this episode. Honestly, thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Ron. This has been this is a wonderful experience talking to you. I can't wait until I get to your city so we can do this
Oh
in
yeah,
person, you and me, and then you are gonna be in the hot seat because you're gonna get to
I
know
can't wait to put
everything.
on. I love being on both sides. I love interviewing, I think, more than I like being in the hot seat, but
Oh,
I like both, and I'm grateful for it, Ina. Once again, everybody, thank you for tuning in. This has been another episode of Great American Underdog, where we talk to real people who have real stories of strength and success, overcoming the odds in their own lives and writing their own underdog story. Thank you again to Ina Coveney, who has joined us today. I'll have links included below on where you can find her as well and follow her across social media. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for joining. Take care.